There we go. I've done it. Sorry, take two. It
Are we there
is.
now?
It's the 12th of November. Stop it, Siri. It is. And welcome to Geeks on Screen on Coffee again to Alex Whittles. Sorry, it's the second time. I managed to muck that up. Hello, Alex. How are you?
Apart from technology issues, we're all good, I think. I will apologise for the second time that I don't have coffee, but I do have tea. So I'm holding up half of the bargain anyway.
You are allowed to drink whatever you want. Any fluid you want to embalm, it's fine with me.
I would go for a wine, but I'm all out here, unfortunately.
You're in the Frogplex.
We are indeed in the Frogplex, yes. So yeah, one of the big changes over COVID was we took the decision to double the size of the office. So we rented the next office along as well. So we've now got between 3 and 4 meters between every single member of staff. So we have more space than you can shake a big stick at. We have almost half a meeting room per person as well. So we've got a huge amount of space. So obviously we were working remotely, but some of us have now come back because we have got so much space to hand.
What are those big balls that you can climb into?
Well, that's very personal.
What are not Zumba? That's that exercise thing. Roomba is the
they are Zoom balls or something, aren't they? I know what you mean. The ones you roll down mountains or roll down hills. Yeah.
Just have those in the office.
It's a frog ball.
it's some spawn that you can climb into, and you can just roll to the loo.
Size.
Yeah, we haven't done the intro. All right, sorry.
Far away.
Where are we?
I'm excited by this.
All right, no, we got to do the first division. And today's sponsor is Power BI Sentinel.
Ooh.
I mean, you're not really sponsoring.
Yes, why not?
But I thought if I do it now, then you can give me the money later if you like it.
We haven't agreed a fee yet, Mark.
Oh yeah, all right. I'm going to show everyone the if you've got YouTube to hand, we're going to show you your board. So there we go. And I'm
liking the style there. Good work. And it's not the right plane model, but I'm not going to judge.
I think you did. Well, it's not perfect.
The effects, I have to say, are quite staggering. I'm very impressed.
I mean,
no budget spared.
Yeah. There was some printer ink that went on there. That's what I think of you. I don't think of Frog anymore. I think of Pilot.
I did actually look into what it would take to register the plane with the registration letters of P Frog. Now, all British registered planes start with G. German planes start with D, etc. So all countries have their own prefix of plane registrations. So if I wanted P Frog, which country in the world would I have to go to register my plane with the prefix of P?
P. So I'm assuming so what did you say? Britain was D?
Britain is G for Great Britain.
Oh, okay. So
D is Germany for Deutschland. America is N for some reason.
New Guinea?
No. Pyongyang, North Korea.
Yeah.
So I need to go and chat with the dictatorship to see if I could register a plane over there. I'm not quite sure how I'd go about the annual servicing. It may be a little bit tricky to get that organised. So for now, we've settled with a G registration.
Yeah.
And it's not even G Frog either. It's very boring.
Yeah, you flying effectively a North Korean plane around.
That may raise some questions. Bear in mind, we live quite close to an RAF base here.
Yeah. That is. Couldn't you just get ORF and it would be Frog backwards?
Yeah, it needs to be a little less subtle than that. It needs to be kind of Frog. So I wouldn't mind having G Frog. That would be all right. But I just can't get P Frog. But there you go. No. First world problems. #.
It is. All right. So Show me your desk, Alex. Not that that was pre-prepared.
And not prepared at all, is I'm going to throw it right back at you and you show me your desk, Mark. I have sent you a parcel.
Actually, all right.
A package should have arrived yesterday.
It did. I was quite surprised because I wasn't expecting anything, which is unusual to not expect anything from Amazon. So I'll just creep over here. So I did take it out of the box. And I was actually wondering whether I would disappear behind it. Being not quite the right green.
Okay. It's still showing. I think we're okay.
All right. Can I?
By all means, go for it. Yep.
I'm a little bit nervous.
Now, I hope I've got my dates right. Is it a special day in 2 days' time?
It might be a special day in a couple of days. I've got to the age where I start counting decades, not individual years.
Okay. I thought this is the nearest Geeks on screen to your birthday, so we should make this a Mark birthday themed event.
So this must sound terrible. I hope no expense was spared on this. Oh, look at that.
I've even got some purple balloons up for you, up there. And bear with me whilst I decorate the office.
So, don't take this the wrong way, but things are quite busy. Things are quite tough at work at the moment. Not so busy.
Oh, it's manically busy. But you've got to have some fun, haven't you?
So we're getting some messages. Where are they coming through? I should see them on the YouTube. Oh, Portugal. Someone was guessing. And then show me yours. Andy Parks is.
Andy's our business development director at Purple Frog.
Oh, is he?
Does a lot of work on Sentinel.
Oh, okay. So he's one of the people. Sentinel making up.
He's probably just checking in as to why I'm not actually working. I should be dealing with some issues right now, but I'm not. Hi, Andy.
I thought you were going to say Sentinel making up for the features that should be in there.
Yeah, I mean, is now a good point to do a sales pitch?
You can do.
Power BI Sentinel, filling in the gaps that Power BI doesn't have on governance, disaster recovery, auditing, and manageability. There you go. That's all I'll say.
What would you do?
If you want to know more, go to powerbisentinel.com and amazing products. It makes Power BI the best thing in the world.
But Power BI is the best thing in the world.
Well, if it had backups, if it had proper data lineage, if it had change tracking, if it had documentation, if it had auditing properly so you could see who's accessing what, doing what, deleting stuff, creating stuff, if it had all of that, the manageability and the governance side of it, it would absolutely be the best tool in the world. But it has a very, very big limitation. So with Power BI Sentinel, everyone's happy.
There we go.
Now that's over. How are you these days?
I'm all right. How have you been? Because how was one of the questions is how was SQL Bits for you guys?
Crikey. Yes.
As a virtual event? I mean, I can give you my feedback that, as you know, because I saw some of your posts on Twitter, the recording of your own session is actually tougher than you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
But the experience of moderating your own session was amazing. Yeah.
And I think that was pretty much the feedback from most people that did it, myself included. It took me, for a 45-minute session, took me over 7 hours to record it and edit it. Now, part of that was because Azure really was trying its damnedest to break all my demos whilst I was recording it. Together with Power BI data flows, had a really bad day, and I had to spend hours recording everything again and again, and then ultimately piece together multiple different demos into one that looked seamless and worked. I did exactly the same thing again last weekend for DPS, Data Platform Summit hosted in India, but it's at a 24/7 round the clock conference, so anyone in the world can go and see it. Go and register now, it'll be a great conference. I actually spent 4 hours recording new demos and everything else for it, and then at the end of it, came to bring it into Camtasia and realised I've been recording the wrong screen.
Oh, no
With
way.
schoolboy error. Yeah, bad do. Had to go and do the whole lot again. So yeah, it's technology issues and some user issues. Either way, it's hard. It takes a lot of time. And when you're delivering a session live, there's the feeling of a live audience there, even if you're doing it remotely. And if you have a problem, you just carry on going, and you make it do. When you're recording it, some people, and there's two different perspectives. Some people have the feeling of it should be a raw live session just recorded. Some people say, no, you've got the opportunity to record it. It should be much more refined. And there's a different expectation from attendees. There's no right answer there. As a committee, we expected the former of just talk to a camera for an hour and whatever comes out, record it, and we'll put it as a live session. We drastically underestimated the perfectionism of our speakers, and very, very few people did that. Everyone took it to a level of professionalism that we just didn't expect, and the output was fantastic. The quality of the sessions, the content was amazing, but we now understand the impact that had on speakers, including ourselves. Doing sessions ourselves, we had the same challenges, but that was a big lesson learned. And I think we were the first big conference to go virtual in our world. We've got the PAR Summit, we've got DPS, etc., that are now doing it. Speakers have learned from that. Organisers have learned from it. We were the first, and so we were kind of figuring out how things work as we went. But ultimately, it was a far bigger success than I think any of us imagined that it would be, in terms of the number of attendees, the engagement, the feedback, the quality of sessions. We're really overwhelmed by the feedback we've had. In fact, on that screen right now, I have a Power BI report, which is the SQL Bits speaker feedback, which I've been preparing for the last few days, of collating all of the attendee feedback, attendance figures, and everything else into a lovely Swish Power BI report, which should be, hopefully, made available on the SQL Bits website over the next week or two. So instead of sending out PDFs, we're now going modern. We're going Power BI and using that. So we've got a few technical hurdles to sort out first, but hopefully that should be going out to speakers over the next week or so.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it was really good to get it SQL Bits done and have the kind of event that we wanted. And it wasn't just the technical side. We're very aware that SQL Bits is more than just a learning experience. It's a networking bit of fun. There's a SQL Bits style that people expect, and so we worked really hard to keep the pub quiz and turn that virtual. We got the Festival of the Spoken Nerd team to come and do some kind of comedy nerd stuff at lunchtimes and stuff, and the feedback from that's been great. So yeah, we're really pleased with how it all went. But it was nice to get it over with and actually get some sleep.
I imagine so. I checked in with kind of Rob Sewell just while it was on. He was doing some moderating and some other stuff, and it was just like, well, how is normally SQL Bits is really manic. The few days before, you're getting the venue ready, and then the first couple of days, there's always a few technical hitches, odd things sound in rooms, but and then people are up late, and then there's people are out late. That's all very different now in the remote world. So kind of how was it was probably more or less stressful, but different type of stress and stress at different times.
So let's compare it to with an in-person event. You have a lot of physical stuff to get working. Take for example the second Telford event. We finished getting we had the inflatable domes in Telford. There was, shall we say, a communications issue with getting the domes in the right place on the right day in the right county. And so the team were working through the night until I think about 7:30 in the morning on the opening day of the conference to get those rooms available and working. Speakers and attendees came in on the first day and everything was there and everyone thinks it's perfectly planned and organized and wonderful. No, it was utter chaos. Similar with this year's online event, we got the platform working, I think it was something like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning the session, the event started. Equally similar challenges, just very different challenges. First time we'd run a live virtual conference, and yeah, you don't know what you don't know, and you figure it out as you. And we're a very small team, and we've all got day jobs. There were significant stresses and challenges of getting it done, and I know that I was one of the lower stress members of the team. Other members of the team had other stresses that were, it's a shared project. So yes, it was very stressful and hard work, and that was the same every day, working late into the night to actually fix issues, change stuff, things like speaker feedback. We were doing the feedback through the actual event platform. That just wasn't working. We found after day one, the process just wasn't working. We were getting such a low amount of feedback that on day 2 we had to create a complete new feedback system outside of the event platform during the event, and then get it out to all attendees. And yeah, you're constantly firefighting. So hopefully, as an attendee, you never see any of that, and it looks like a smooth event. And that's what it's the whole kind of swan looks seamless on the top, and underneath the water, mad paddling. And that's the same whether it's in person or virtual. We expected it to be easier, but no, it was the same. But that's half of the, I'm not going to say fun, the challenge and the sense of achievement when it does go well, and when you get all that positive feedback. And going back to the speakers, you're saying about the challenge of speakers having to spend all that time creating the content. There were low points, and a lot of speakers quite rightly pointed out how much time it was taking, and the short amount of time they had to do that. But then you get to the event, and everyone was feeding back saying how wonderful it was to be able to actually sit there and not watch your own session, but actually take part in your own session, having a discussion and adding extra context and responding to chats, and that engagement as a speaker I loved. It was one of my most enjoyable sessions because there's no pressure, there's no stress. You've done all that before, and you can sit there and just have a nice chat with the attendees and actually get some social interaction. And that I found lovely. I really enjoyed that. And they're doing the same thing at the DPS conference. So again, I'm quite looking forward to that as well.
I put some zoom effects in. So after I put it, to highlight certain areas of the screen, and then I kind of forgot about it because it was like, I think it was like a month between us submitting. For some reason, I got the submission date wrong, and I submitted it. And then I saw a tweet from Simon going, well, I hope when people submit their sessions, are they going to add like crowd noises, or are they going to do other sound effects? Wait a minute, I did it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we had a number of submission dates. Again, one thing we have to be respectful of is all of our speakers, like yourself, you've got a day job. I know you sit around drinking coffee most of the day, but you try and do the pretense of actually doing some work for Microsoft.
It's not really a job.
A lot of our speakers are, very, very high-level consultants. They're holding down very challenging jobs, especially in lockdown and everything else. It makes everything more difficult. And trying to find the time to spend 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours recording a session is hard. And we knew we needed to set some deadlines to get content in, because we had a lot of work to do to actually then get those sessions on the platform ready to go. A number of speakers didn't submit their content on time. The final one came in the morning of the session.
Really?
You cannot imagine the stress and problems that put on the team managing that, of having to there's so much work behind the scenes to make that happen. And yeah, when it comes in on the morning, it's it makes it far more difficult.
I would have said no. We've got a backup session, or we've got a plan. And sorry.
Yeah, we did consider that, but ultimately, whenever you deliver the session, there's still a lot of time and effort and energy put into that. And attendees have already chosen their agenda and actually decided what sessions they want to see. And so would it be right to do that? We could have said no, but it's more content in the conference, and it improves the overall conference. It just makes it even more difficult and adds more stress.
I mean, one of my video files was 2 and a bit gig, and I think I was being emailed on the Saturday, like after I'd submitted it, whatever it was, Saturday, saying, can you re-upload it? Something went wrong. Because it was like weeks in advance, it's fine. But it must have taken them ages to download it, move it into whatever. Then they had to review it. I'm sure they were reviewing it to make sure there was nothing dodgy. At least someone had to go through it. And I was thinking, the amount of content someone's got to watch. Oh my God, that's just... a lot of work.
And things like topic and tailing, putting the intro animations and outro animations, those kind of things on, timing it so you can set the management of the portal around it and everything. In fact, if you want to have a good laugh, have you seen Rob Sewell's outtakes video on YouTube or Facebook? No. So he recorded, as Rob tends to do, quite a comedic intro and everything else, and it's a great session. But then he published his outros, and oh God, that's hilarious. Just the number of times he goes through the introduction and it goes wrong. And fair play to him, he can take a laugh at himself, and he put them all together as an outro video. And but it shows the level of the amount of time that it takes to go through. But actually, an even more great session was his wife Tracy. Then recorded her own version of his session with her own take on the technology. Now, she doesn't do PowerShell and DevOps or anything else, and it's a cracking good watch. I would almost go so far as to say it's a better watch than Rob's original video. You don't learn as much, but it's a great laugh.
What is she? She recorded a version of his session, reading his slides and...
shall we say she puts a slightly comedic element on not really understanding what's going on, but it's good fun.
I'm sure.
But actually, I need to, whilst talking about Rob, give a shout out to the amount of work he put into the conference. He's not on the organising committee, but he went above and beyond. The amount of effort he put in to help us, and that's how SQL Bits ends up working, because so many people, Steph Martin, another one, who puts in so much effort and helps the conference run. It wouldn't run without people like that helping make it happen. And that's the beauty about community events like this, is you kind of get that help from the people.
Don't mention Rob, because his head just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Can we cut that out?
No, it's too late now. You said it.
Nice.
What I can go through is I can just bleep it out of the video. I think one of my buttons is a bleep button to counter out swear words if someone does say anything. But so how is the Frogplex? Because you were expanding. I think the last we talked,
yes,
you were at home. Last time we talked, you were at home indulging in some wine. Was that
was
Boris
absolutely
Johnson's wine? Oh no, David Cameron's wine.
You're right. It was David Cameron's House of Commons wine that I was given by a neighbour.
Quaffing, is that the term? You quaffed wine? Quaff. Is that not the right term?
Well, I wasn't actually drinking that bottle. That was down in the wine rack, ready for a future occurrence, a future opportunity. But no, it was a bottle of red. Yes, so I was working at home then, as we all were in lockdown 1.0. Then during lockdown 1.0, we took the decision to expand the office. So we've now got double the floor space. We've got 3 times as many meeting rooms. And that means with the same headcount, we can just massively spread out across the whole building. So we've now got minimum 3 meters between every desk, plus COVID screens around, and it's COVID to the max in terms of. They've hidden me in my own office now. I've actually I'm blocked in with walls. They won't let me out into the main group of employees now.
Is that your phone buzzing?
It
Right.
is.
I don't know whether it's coming through on the mic. Oh, there's a big bunch of boxes for the suit to stare at. Oh, I see. That's from Tracy. So Andre has
away.
posted up that. Oh, okay. Andres just posted up a message just saying this is what Tracy had said.
Okay. So yeah, so we've increased the size of the office, and then we actually started taking on more staff as well. So we're taking on 4 new staff during lockdown. So we've grown from 8 to 12, so increased by 50%. So it's been a busy time the last 9 months, especially with the challenges of working remotely and then coming back and everything else. So
is your plan to take over the world?
I think global domination is a little bit Trumpism, isn't it? I think
you got to have a goal.
Expectations a little bit smaller.
Start with the UK first.
There's just so much work to do. We're all maxed out, so we've taken on 2 new directors to help out with the direction of the business, strategy, and things like that. So Andy, who's online now, our business development director, really focusing on Sentinel at the moment, helping drive the partner program for that and contractual details for customers, that kind of stuff. Then a finance director to make sure that I don't spend all the money. And then 2 new actual members of staff as well, 2 new dev staff. So again, 1 on Sentinel, 1 on Purple Frog side.
Surprised.
So yeah, so we're expanding, and there's plenty more work out there. So we're keeping ourselves nice and busy.
Oh well,
and good news for you, we're doing a huge amount of work with Synapse these days. So doing quite a lot of Synapse migrations for existing on-prem customers.
So do you mean Synapse or do you mean Synapse? Which Synapse? Synapse SQL pools. So the name has changed again on the portal.
Can we just go back to old school? SQL DW, Databricks, Data Factory, Data Lakes. Just old school, whatever name you want to put on it. Microsoft branding can do what they want with it afterwards.
Yeah, so SQL DW. So you're doing some
SQL DW, SQL on demand, Databricks, a lot of Data Lake, just the usual kind of Delta Lake. Ooh. Fun cloud stuff.
Are you finding much take up in Delta?
Not take up at the moment, but interest in it. So proof of concept, showing what it can do. We've got 1 project we're implementing at the moment in Data Lake that we're looking to put a Delta engine over the top of it, just to see if we can get them better performance through it. 1 American client who's already using Data Lake, who just need better performance out of it. So we're looking at various options for them, including all the way from that through to Power BI composite data models to try different ways of actually giving them different levels of performance for different kinds of reporting they want to do.
Okay,
so it's all good fun. All good fun.
I Synapse is where I spend. When people say Synapse, to me it means the whole kind of everything that fits in that Spark pool, even the ADF bit or flow or whatever we've called it today. I don't know what we've called it.
Let's stick with ADF.
Yeah,
flow. Yeah. We've already got too many flows in the world to add another flow to it.
I was looking at today, because I'm going to be talking a bit about it later. I'm really sorry. I double booked this. So when this finishes, I'm off to Glasgow to talk about Synapse.
Is that with Craig?
Yes.
You should have got him on. We'd have a big group session, big group Synapse hug.
Well, the user group starts 10 minutes ago. Shh, don't tell him I'm not there.
Oh, so you're talking at his user group?
I am, yes. Well, I'm not now.
All he needs to do is just stream this to his user group, and we'll just talk Synapse all night.
I don't think. Oh, Andre's watching. Andre wants to call it APS.
Old school, Andre. I like that.
Yeah. Well, it was. What was it before? It was something before APS, wasn't it?
It was Parallel Data Warehouse, PDW.
PDW, yeah.
Then moved to APS when it started to get more analytical capability. Then it kind of got dropped a little bit and moved into the cloud for SQL DW, and then it became Synapse, and who knows where it'll go now.
Why haven't we gone all the way back to Data Allegro? because that's what it was before.
Ooh, yes, sorry. Well, I
Historic.
kind of jumped into the Microsoft stage rather than pre-Microsoft.
Well, we had a lady called Mary, and she worked for Data Allegro when that came across,
Oh,
and she doesn't work for Microsoft anymore, but she was working there when I was there, and the amount of history that's kind of gone along with the product as it's moved.
yeah.
Ian's chiming in. Yes, well done, Ian. Ian's saying hello. I feel that it's a no hello session. Are you in for the? Are you a no hello person? Do you, the no hello fad, where people come on Teams or whatever, and they message you and they just go
Oh,
hi. So what people there's like nohello.com, and you redirect people to that, and it says like put a question in. Don't just go hello to see if I'm
I've,
there.
I've I've not found that. I do find though, certainly on MVP calls, you get a lot of hi from Poland, hi from Scotland, hi from Wales, hi from Kansas, hi from everywhere. It just becomes a global map of people. And then the chat just becomes so rapid you can't even see what's going on. So I tend to stay back from the hellos and just watch what's going on.
I heard you're a bit of a voyeur, but that's a whole different thing, isn't it?
Who's telling you that?
I mean, it's what's on the laybys. They've got like never mind. Oh, I picked the wrong color. So this is where probably Jen would. So there's I don't know if you've seen the YouTube. You can see that there's text over the top of
Hang on.
us on the YouTube, and I can't see what.
Yes, I can. Oh, when it's black and you've got a black t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not working out. Well, Andy's saying hi from North Korea. Hi, Andy. If
So
I could speak in Korean, I would respond.
so I was playing with trying to get. It's called Synapse Link, although we now have another product called Synapse and Link in it. That is, but Synapse Link to join up Cosmos DB, and then so from Synapse you can query Cosmos DB
Oh,
as an
oh,
analytical store
oh! I was talking about exactly that this morning, wondering if there was a solution to it. When is that available now?
as public preview. Yes, and it's really
Fabulous.
easy to set up. Although I'll say it's really easy to set up, but I managed to muck it up. But
In that case, we'll be setting that up tomorrow to give it a POC for one of our customers because they were asking exactly that this morning.
okay, the only thing you had to do was create a new container or a new yes, and then set it up on that rather than setting up on an existing container. I think is harder. But once you create the
Okay.
container, you basically say yes for analytics. The time to live for analytics is yes.
Okay, so they've already got their container fully set up, so that's maybe a little more tricky.
Because when I did it on an existing container that I created, I didn't get the option to enable it. But you could show it to them working, create a new container, move some data across,
Yeah,
and then
we'll migrate it.
and then all you do is go into Query on Demand, SQL on Demand, and then go select star from Open Row Set, and then give it Cosmos DB is the name of the system, and then some details.
Well, that's exactly the whole point of what we're trying to get with them is combine queries against the data warehouse, again combined with queries against data lake, and then bring in Cosmos all within one nice query engine. And SQL on Demand will do that if it's got this Cosmos link. So yeah, good knowledge. Thank you. It was worth coming on just for that.
I do try and give. I give.
Your work here is done, Mark.
I came up with one joke today, and I think that's my joke for the year, for last year. That my aim is to lower the IQ in the room. All right. The actual joke was I've been lowering the IQ in the room since 1974. Made me giggle.
Policy.
But all right. The point was that there is now a serverless in Cosmos.
Sorry, that's the new name, isn't it? It's not SQL on Demand in Synapse. It's Synapse SQL Serverless, isn't it?
Well, there is Synapse SQL Serverless, but there's also a separate serverless in Cosmos. So in Cosmos, when you create the when you provision it, you say how many RUs or whatever. There's now a serverless option where you then pay on demand, and it will scale up.
Okay.
So Cosmos has got one, SQL Server has got one, and Synapse has got one. Oh,
When's
what?
access going on?
Oh no, it's when someone said that it will work in serverless, I was thinking that was SQL serverless and thinking, oh, okay, it's going to take the SQL database and do the same thing.
Yeah.
No, actually, it was serverless within Cosmos, and now we've got to. It's confusing.
It's one of the greater challenges these days of the pace all of this is moving is staggering. Even just taking Power BI in isolation, the pace that's moving is staggering. Then you look at Synapse and Data Factory and all the components of it, trying to stay on top of the capability, the best practice architectures of pros and cons, and even just look at Databricks or Spark with the Delta engines and things like that coming on. All the other tools that sit around those, trying to keep up with everything, the time taken to play with them and explore them, there's too much there to do. And it's becoming a greater and greater challenge to actually keep up with that tech. And that's a large part of why we're building the team here, is so that we can actually spread out that investigation load of exploring different options and time to play with it, because it's just too much for one person to do these days.
Yeah, I mean, you and I remember the days where you had SQL Server 2008. You had analysis services in there, you had reporting services in there, and you had SSIS in there, and you pretty much dabbled with it all. You might not be, you have a specialist in particular bits, you might do more SSIS, but essentially you would do everything.
Yeah.
Although I didn't really get on with analysis services. It was all a bit yucky.
You leave that's the experts then, you might.
Well, it had one of those kind of advanced learning curves. Like, as soon as someone goes DAX, no, that was MDX, wasn't it?
It was MDX back in the day, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like,
I'll
let someone else do that.
MDX is one of my great loves. It's one of those languages that you bang your head against a brick wall and you get nowhere with it, and then suddenly you have this moment of clarity and it just all makes sense. It's the scene in The Matrix when he opens his eyes and suddenly everything's in green letters. It's that kind of, but there's no gradual progression to that point. It seems to be quite a, you bang your head against a brick wall for enough time and you get there. And you needed that to actually write anything remotely useful or complex in it. Whereas DAX, you can do so much more without really knowing what you're doing too much. You can dabble and play and do quite a lot of really cool stuff, copying and pasting from the SQLBI.com website. Thank you, Marco and Alberto. All hail your website. And then you get to a point where actually you need to then progress to a whole nother level to really start writing that stuff yourself rather than copy pasting. But you can do a hell of a lot without that. And I think it's far more accessible because of that. And that's why MDX didn't have as much take up. Whereas DAX, it's much easier to find DAX skills now than it is MDX skills. It's still hard to find good skills, but it's improving.
What was that? Oh, Ian said, okay. So sorry, Arta from who works in my team. I'll change the color. What's a good color to go against any,
green.
If I do that, I
go
can read
green. Then you can just be a floating head with a hat. We all want to see that.
I did have an extra bit of green material on this that I could do that with. I can't see it. Where is it? Oh, I haven't got it. But yeah, you can. I could just hide behind them.
That's actually a big improvement. What can I say?
No, sorry.
So what's happening in your world? You're still based entirely at home and working remotely, and is that likely to set for the foreseeable future?
I think at least for the next 6 months, I can't see me going visiting customers. I mean, I used to spend most of my time on customer sites and traveling to customers and talking and talking nonsense, just about Synapse and helping them. And now it's just kind of all at home. So which is why I need these podcasts, so I can actually talk to people.
Yeah, I went to see a customer for the first time before lockdown 2 started. They just opened up their offices for a big high street retail customer. They just opened their head office for a small fraction of their staff, and had to go in and meet some people there to discuss a project. And yeah, it was a 3-day engagement, and one of the 3 days was on site. It was very strange getting in a car and driving to see a customer. It was quite a novel experience.
What, getting in a car and driving more than like 10 minutes or 15 minutes?
Yeah, getting on a motorway was.
I presume they're
real novelty.
Did you actually have to wear trousers?
I had to wear trousers. I didn't go as far as to put a tie on, but I did put a shirt and trousers on and some polished shoes, and yeah, very strange.
Because that's my fear.
It was quite nice to get out, and then obviously a week after that, lockdown 2 started, and back we go again.
Because I guess it would be nice to go and see some customers, but it is still remote, and everything I do is in Azure, so I never actually get hands on keyboard. So once you've got access to the subscription, you can do whatever you like, really, if you've got permissions. Not that I would do whatever.
Let's caveat that.
Yeah. Sorry.
Whatever you like, no one cares.
I just whap that data warehouse up to the massive size, 350 quid an hour.
Why not?
Yeah. All right. You can't do that. It stops you. We have to raise a support request first. But once I've got the support request through, it takes a few days. Then I can.
You can fast track those, though, can't you?
Yeah, I could. No, but no.
Remain professional at all times.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least a pretense of being professional at all time. Yeah, that's the key.
It is. I try and be as honest as I can. But that sounds dishonest. But I try and be as brutally honest with the customers and say, right, that isn't the right thing to do in Synapse. Yeah. So pick another thing. Don't waste your time here, because there are, do it in Databricks, do it in Spark, do it in SQL Server. There are other things to do.
Actually, that's one of the key principles of how we work here at Pebble Frog. Is if a customer if it's not the right solution for someone. In fact, the outcome of that meeting on site with the customer the other week, they were expecting us to go in there and put forward a proposal for a 6 to 12 month data warehouse project using Synapse and everything else. No, we put in a proposal for a 6-week short-term quick hit solution. Cost them 5%, 10% of the cost, gets them much faster results, buys them time to then plan a proper project in the future. So we're doing ourselves out of a massive project, but it's the right thing for the customer. And when you focus your recommendations on that, then you build trust, and then they come back in a year's time or 2 years' time for the next projects. We've had some customers for 13, 14 years, and if you give them good quality advice, not try and milk them for all you can, you end up with a win-win. And when you have that approach, then you build a sustainable long-term relationship.
Yeah.
As long as you approach everything with that goal, then everyone wins.
Yeah. And it is about trust, but if you want the customer to succeed, and that doesn't mean you get that work or you get those products, but the customer succeeds, they do better, and then they'll come back again. Yep. It's about finding a win-win and a good balance between you and them, and sometimes it's right for the customer to have another inferior non-Microsoft product.
It's rare. It's rare.
If we did have any products that weren't up to, not that we did have any products or would have any products, or release products that weren't early that needed extra work. Sorry. When you've been around since like Windows 3.1 and NT 3.5.1 and NT4 Service Pack 2,
rock and roll.
Service Pack 2. They swapped around the multi CPU kernel with a single kernel. So when you applied it to your machine, it put the wrong kernel in and balked it.
Ooh.
Yeah, they fixed that pretty quickly, but we got hit by that.
That was before my server days. I was just, in fact, back then I was dealing with Access and VB6.
VB6 does rule.
VB6 is the bomb. It really is. Amazing bit of kit. Much underrated for the speed of, as long as you approached it right and developed it right and didn't take shortcuts. Then yeah, good tool.
I spoke to a customer that I used to work for, and some of that code is still in there, and some of it there was some VB6 in there. It still works.
It's amazing how long code stays around for. Code that I did a project. Oh my goodness, when was that? It must have been 11, 12 years ago. It was a short-term piece of work. It was a 3 to 6 month contract, building a proof of concept data warehouse for a very large insurance company, just to show the concept of what a data warehouse and a cube could give them in terms of analytics, with the view that once you've done that, you then actually figure out what you actually need and develop an actual V1 product. And I left the project and carried on with my life, and went elsewhere for other projects. And I was speaking. I happened to cross paths with someone who works for that same company, in a different country, but same company, about 2 years ago. And I mentioned, oh yeah, I did some work for your company back in the day, and asked them what they had now. Oh no, we're still using it. It's still the live production system. And I was like,
you should have charged so much more.
Well, that, to be honest, was such a big learning curve, because if I had any inkling that project would have still been live 10 years later, I would have designed it differently. I designed it with the mentality of this is a relatively quick proof of concept. And actually, the first project was just a 3-month engagement. There was another 3 months afterwards. So it was a 3-month, relatively quick data warehouse that was fully functional and working, but it wasn't designed with longevity, designed for scalability or modification. It wasn't a good architecture. Had I had any idea that it may have been used long term, I would have approached it very differently. So now, as a result of that, even if it is a short-term project, we still approach it with the same approach of this needs to be long-term stable in case they end up using it with that. It was a very interesting learning curve going through that and realizing that how customers tend to not take advice.
Yes, and it is general. I mean, one project, I put in some really garishly horrible colors, so the customer wouldn't go live with it. So
brilliant.
And I thought, make it look ugly.
Yeah.
No one's gonna know, and then at least they'll go, right, this is clearly for the proof of concept. They loved the colors.
Yep. Oh,
it backfired, and there was another thing we did, and it's for retail, and it was just a proof of concept, just to show stuff would work, and we put some jokes in there, like something pops up, like a pop up. We made it like bread, so it like looking, as a joke. No, that went in, and it wasn't production ready to update the settings. You had to reboot the machine, and still 5 years. Was it nearly? Yeah, it was certainly 5 years later. I was talking to someone who worked there, going, "Yeah, you wrote that. We're still having to reboot the machines to get those settings updated." He used an XML file and you couldn't update it because it left it open. It didn't shut it down because it was crap code.
Not designed to do that, is it?
No.
What I tend to do now is, if there is a genuine need for a system to be live in a proof of concept, is I sabotage it in the data. So I'll only bring in 50% of the data, or if it's retail, only a certain number of stores, or if they want a year, 2 years worth of history, I'll only bring in 6 months worth of history. So that it's fully functional, but it doesn't do everything that they actually want it to do, and that then means there's always that need to do it properly. Where it is specifically tasked as a proof of concept, to try and stop it from going live. It doesn't stop it, but at least it kind of shrinks the lifespan somewhat because of some frustrations that, and obviously if you want to change it, you can change it quite easily and open it up if you need to, but it just keeps it in the mind that actually we should do the full solution to get the full functionality.
Yeah, there's It's hard though, because I try and push that a proof of concept needs to be deleted, destroyed, because it is just proving a concept. It isn't. So we're trying to prove a concept. We're not trying to write a product. That would be an MVP.
Yeah.
And so I do try and split that up in their mind to say, right, this will get thrown away. We're not trying to make it the entire thing work. Well, some data, not all your data. Some tables, not all your tables, because we want to do it in a short amount of time. It is. I'm going to have to say good night. We've got to 7 o'clock.
You've got people to go and please, haven't you?
Can we do one emergency question?
Let's go for an emergency question.
All right. So actually, Craig was pinging on Teams. If I'm going to open it, he was saying, "Say hello to Alex."
Hi, Greg.
And you know, I was missing a work session for this. So a session in US time zone that was really important. I'm going to have to get up at 5 because they're doing one in another time zone. All right, pick a number.
I feel the love. Thank you for suffering as a consequence. Let's go for 999.
Do you really want 999?
I'm not sure I do. Let's go 911.
So 9.
Has that been done before?
Well, I don't think 911 was, but I think 999 was the question about. Yeah, no, it's basically, can I talk to you about religion?
Don't get me started on that.
911. Isn't that public?
I should probably choose a random number because I presume that's been asked before.
No, I don't think it has. No. What do you most miss about being a child? And if you are a child, what do you think you'll miss about being a child when you're growing up?
What do I miss about being a child?
Sorry, Arthur. No.
Frankie.
People are putting question numbers in that I should ask you. No. At least you didn't do a Rob Farley, and he found a PDF version of it, and then looked at the question and then said, "Oh, ask me this one."
That's cheating. That's cheating. Although, you know, Rob's a clever chap. It doesn't surprise me. He's a smart cookie.
Yes.
Right. What I miss about being a child? I grew up on a farm. Now that is so radically different to growing up in a normal environment. You walk outside and you've got 400 or 500 acres of just fields. You can just go for a walk down to the river, go fishing, or you can hop on a tractor and drive. We had 2 pubs at either side of the farm, so you can actually hop in a tractor or the digger and drive to the pub. You can actually have a couple and drive back on private land, not breaking any rules. I shouldn't admit that on camera.
No, you shouldn't condone that. But what you do in your own land is your own business.
Exactly, it's private land. I had one trip back where I sat in the bucket of the JCB with my dad driving the JCB, going back from the pub. It's on private land, it doesn't matter. It's a very different environment to grow up. You've got no friends within walking distance. You can't just pop next door and see your mates. But you've got hay bales you can build dens in. You can go and sit on the tractor with your dad and go around the fields. You can go and play on equipment. We had bulls and chickens and all the rest of it, and it's just a very nice way of growing up, made slightly easier when you get a bike and you can cycle round to neighbouring farms to see your mates, or finally get your driving license and get yourself into town. But I think that now I live in the town, it's a very different kind of environment, and so I think that's probably the biggest thing from a childhood.
You miss drunken rides home in
drunken
tractors.
Trips back from the pub, on tractor. Just the environment of living on a farm, fresh air, countryside, and stuff.
Have the lambs stopped screaming, please?
We were actually, my granddad was the world's foremost breeder of Shropshire sheep. Now, I wouldn't be proud of that, except Shropshire sheep are the ugliest sheep you've ever seen in your life. But yeah, he was an award-winning farmer rearing sheep, and then so I had sheep and lambs until I was about 4 or 5. Then we stopped having animals and became entirely arable, apart from some chickens for eggs and stuff. Then when I was about 10 or 11, my dad started a bull rearing part of the farm, and so he had about 200 to 300 Limousin bulls. And then he diversified into bird food, and because farming very difficult to actually make a living and survive, so diversified into making wild bird food. And he built the Europe's largest birdseed company. Now you may think is a big business in birdseed, and this is for wild birds, so it's feeding blue tits and things in your garden. In America, it's worth more than golf as an industry. It is staggeringly big, and so we built this business up from nothing. And so I ended up living on Europe's biggest birdseed factory, which was based on the farm. But that took all the place of the bulls, so we had to get rid of the cattle to just do birdseed and arable.
You are an enigma wrapped in a mystery inside a puzzle box. There is so much depth to Alex Whittles that is untrue.
But it meant we had load of space. So we had space to, do think we used to do firework displays. We had space to store crates and crates of firework kits. We had space to build things, like we built a hovercraft. And you got machinery and equipment to build that stuff.
Oh, you built a hovercraft. I've got to. Oh no! Stop it! Stop! I've got to go.
When you've got welders and things, you've got all the equipment. You've got sheets of steel. You've got everything you need to build stuff. And that, I'm not an engineer. My degree was in software engineering, but I love mechanics and building and solving problems and learning a lot from my dad about how things work. Just how to weld, how to make complex structures from sheet metal. You try and make a cone out of a flat piece of metal. It's very hard. But actually watching someone who's so skilled at doing that, they can just do it by eye, bit of a chalk, get an oxyacetylene cutter, wrap it around, few bangs with a big hammer, 5-pound lump hammer, and weld it down. You've got this perfect cone. It's amazing to watch that kind of level of skill and learn from it.
Next time we'll start with the farm stuff, and then we'll move off. And we didn't talk about you mentioned fireworks before, and I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was good fun. Did that for a few years. Remember the time because you got to go.
Yeah, I'm sure they can wait, can't they? No, I better go. Right, I'll get you back on again, and we'll carry on from that.
Next time I'll be home with a bottle of wine.
Yeah, all right, and I'll definitely make sure we can have a bit more time to chat. It was lovely talking to you again, and
in the meantime, enjoy Glasgow. Say hi to Craig from me, and have a great day on Saturday for her birthday.
Thank you, and thank you for the hat. I will not throw this away, and I will I will wear this with pride, and I will burn it with. I'll wear it with pride.
Look forward
Thank
to it.
you. You are such a terrible human being. I will wear
try
this
my hardest
on the presentation for the Glasgow people.
Please do.
All right. Cheers. All right. Take care.
I'll look for the social media.
All right.
Speak soon.
Bye, everybody. Bye.